Let's talk about Psalms chapter 22. Now, a lot of us know who David is, and we know that David was a man after God's own heart. We know that David was a warrior. He killed Goliath. To me, besides Christ, nobody in the Bible loved God more than David. That's just from what I see, because the Bible even says that David only sinned one time, and that was when he had a man killed so he could have his wife. Now, a lot of other people gonna look at that and be like, "Oh, that's impossible. David had to sin more than one." I go by what the Bible say, word for word. If the Bible say he only sinned one time, and that's what I'm gonna teach, that he only sinned one time. Now, like I said, we all know about how much he loved God. We all know he wrote so many songs. He made instruments. It was him who started building the temple, or came up with the blueprint for the temple, and put everything, invested, and made provisions for the temple. He wasn't allowed to make the temple because he was, a killer, a warrior, like I said. But anyway, so David. So like I said, we know he was a warrior. We know that. But what a lot of us don't realize is that David was also a prophet. Now, if he wasn't a prophet, because I can't say that for sure, I would say he was. I mean, it's questionable. We can't say if he was or he wasn't. But we can say that he did receive some prophecies. And he recorded those things in the Old Testament. Visions or dreams that he saw that were futuristic. Now, the Old Testament, or the Torah, or the Tanakh, or whatever they call it, was written long before the New Testament. That's historical. That's historically proven. That's historically proven. The Old Testament is way older than the New Testament. So the things that happened with Christ happened after David wrote these things. And in Psalms chapter 22, David wrote, he wrote that basically this book right here gives the most detail of any book to me of what happened at the cross with Christ. Now, you would think that, with Christ, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but actually I feel like David gives more detail in what happened. One of the things that David said, a few of the things that David said in this book are things that Jesus confirmed in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Like David mentioned that they put holes in his hands and feet. David mentioned that they tore his clothing and gambled over it, or cast lots over it. David even cried out, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" David also said, "They're looking at me, they're mocking me, everyone despises me." He describes a lot of things that Jesus was going through. He says they're saying, "Okay, I trust in you, but who's going to save me?" It's just a lot that he said that, that was confirmed at the cross. But here's the thing. We don't really think about how much Christ actually suffered at the cross. This is what David said, and this is something that you're not going to find anywhere else in the Bible. David said in Psalm 22, he says, "Every one of my bones are out of joint, or is out of its joint. Every one of my bones is out of joint." Let's think about that for a second. I don't know if any of y'all ever dislocated a part of your body. I've never dislocated a part of my body, but I've heard that it's painful. My wife says she dislocates her shoulder every now and then, and it's painful, I don't know if any of y'all ever seen the movie Lethal Weapon. How Mel Gibson used to dislocate his shoulder to get out of straitjackets. You know, and whenever he would pop his shoulder back into place, he would get to screaming. So I've never experienced that. Now in the Bible, God did not allow them to break any bone of Jesus Christ. The Bible says this. But in order for a bone to come out of its socket, I would imagine you got to take a pretty hard hit. They beat Jesus so much that every one of his bones came out of his sockets. Do you think about that? Someone to get beat that much that every single bone in their body was out of socket. That means if you don't break somebody's bone, that means you beat them as far as you can possibly beat them before breaking it. If every one of their bones are out of socket. David said in Psalm 22, he said, I can count every one of my bones. Now, how long did they have Jesus before they put him on the cross? What was the time frame between when they captured him and between they put him on the cross? Because either he was starving, or it's just from his bones being out of joint, out of socket, that caused him to say, I can see every single one of my bones. He says, I'm poured out like water. In other words, all his blood has poured out of him like water. This is how much he was bleeding. He said, my mouth was dry and my tongue is stuck to my jaws. Remember on the cross, the Bible says that Jesus cried out and said, I'm thirsty. We read this today and it just really made me think. We actually read it the other day, but we just got a chance to go over it today, and it just really made me think. We have no idea how much Christ suffered on that cross. We know he suffered for me and you, but we don't know how much, man, there's no way we can imagine how much pain he was in at that cross. But I'm gonna say this. I watched a video of a dude that did I forget what that thing is called. It's called like the Shawl of Turin or something like that. But it's the robe that they have that they believe was wrapped around Christ. They've done so many tests and forensic tests on it, but they believe it's the real deal. And on this cloth, you know, it captures. It has the image of a man who had basically had blood coming out of his head. He had got stabbed in the side, and he had holes in his wrists and in his feet. They believe, and they tested the age of it, and it's the proper age for to be the cloth that was wrapped around Jesus. Now, they don't know for sure. They believe it is. I believe it is. But I saw a documentary about it years ago, and there was a doctor who was explaining that when you get stabbed in your feet, there's certain nerves in your feet that cause you to feel pain when you're breathing out or breathing in. And if you get stabbed through your hands or your wrists, you have other joints or nerves that cause the opposite effect. So basically, one of them causes it to hurt when you breathe out, and the other one causes it to hurt when you breathe in. When Jesus was on that cross, he was in pain just from breathing. Y'all, we'll never know what this man went through when he died for us. We'll never. Think about that the next time you got something to complain about, when you feel like, man, I'm going through this, I'm going through this. Man, we ain't been through nothing, bro. We ain't been through nothing. That's all I got, man. Love y'all. Be blessed. Be watchful. Love God. Love each other. Love yourself.